Cyberpunk 2077 is full of sad and horrifying stories that the residents of Night City have had to endure, but perhaps we come closer to no other story than one of Evelyn Parker's. Evelyn's story is one of a bright and ambitious woman that turns into horrific abuse and a sad downward spiral into depression. So join me today as we look into the tragic life of Evelyn Parker. Oh, and don't forget to subscribe. Evelyn Parker was never someone who settled for mediocrity. From the moment she set her sights on becoming a professional actress, it was clear she was determined to climb higher, to demand more from life. She had the brains for it, a sharp mind that knew the ins and outs of the biz, and she thought her job at the Dollhouse Clouds would be her stepping stone. A quick gig, a little experience, and then she'd be on her way to bigger things. But life had other plans. What was supposed to be a short detour ended up becoming a permanent pit stop, much to Evelyn's frustration. She wanted out. She wanted to escape, but no matter how hard she tried, the life she wanted always felt just out of reach. It was at Clouds that Evelyn met Judy Alvarez, and they became close. So close that some might say there was more to their relationship than friendship. The game doesn't exactly spell it out, but the game's quest director, Paul Sasko, has mentioned that they have left their relationship vague, giving players room to imagine whatever connection they like. But it's safe to say that Judy was one of the few people that Evelyn trusted. By 2077, Evelyn had found herself in the company of Yorinobu Arasaka. Often seen at his side at the exclusive Compleki Plaza, it's unclear exactly how their arrangement came to be, but looking at Evelyn's history, it makes sense. She was a high-end doll at Clouds, and given how much she had invested in her own cyberware to ensure that she was the best product available, it's likely she caught Yorinobu's eye that way. Still, we never get the full picture, and that's a detail the game leaves out, simply describing it as a business arrangement.
Think I see how you know so much about Yorinobu.
It's simple. Men like pillow talk a bit too much.
So it's just about the sex.
Biz. And biz only.
But Evelyn's connection to Yuri didn't go unnoticed. The Voodoo Boys, a gang with their own plans, quickly learned about Evelyn and her close ties to Yorinobu. The Voodoo Boys would then go on to hire Evelyn to get their hands on a braindance recording from Yuri's suite at the plaza. Their plan? A heist. You see, the Voodoo Boys have gotten wind of the fact that Yorinobu had gone behind his father's back to secure some new prototype technology and was trying to sell it. This new prototype was called the Relic 2.0. When the Voodoo Boys learned of this and that the relic contained the engram of the dead rocker boy, Johnny Silverhand, the Voodoos knew this could be the key they've been after for all these years. The Voodoos wished to contact Alt Cunningham and knew Johnny could help them in this endeavor due to being her ex-lover, using Johnny as bait to lure Alt's AI from beyond the Black Wall. Evelyn, always the opportunist, saw an opening. She realized just how valuable the relic was, and instead of just doing the job for the Voodoo Boys, she made a decision that would change everything. She'd take the relic for herself. It was with this in mind she reached out to Netwatch, offering the chip in exchange for a hefty payment, protection, and a new identity. They agreed to the terms, but the acquisition of the chip? That was all on Evelyn. That's when Evelyn turned to Dexter DeShawn, the fixer with a bloody reputation and history, to help her pull off the heist. DeShawn put a team together, and that's where V enters the picture. V was brought in to help with the heist, and one of their first tasks is to sift through a braindance that Evelyn had taken from Yorinobu's suite. But Evelyn wasn't entirely comfortable with DeShawn's violent methods or shaded history of gang wars. She saw an opportunity to cut him out of the deal too, offering V a much better split of 50-50 rather than the 30 to 35% DeShawn was offering.
V. Do this job for me. I mean me alone. No splitting the payout with anyone else. No middlemen. No Dex.
But as we all know, things didn't go as planned. No matter what choices you make, the heist goes south. And when the dust settles, DeShawn is dead, Arasaka's on the warpath, and V's got the relic stuck in their head. All the while, Evelyn is left to deal with the fallout. It was at this point that Evelyn went into hiding after the chaos, finding temporary refuge at Lizzie's bar under the protection of the Moxies. But safety was fleeting. Even there, the danger never stopped following her. The real turning point, though, came when Evelyn returned to Clouds, believing the safest place for her would be under the protection of the Tiger Claws gang who she was working for. It turns out that that very gang would lead her to her horrific demise. It was at Clouds, while Evelyn was with a client and connected to the net, that the Voodoo Boys struck back. They launched a brutal virus trying to silence her for good. While the attack didn't kill her, it wrecked all of her cyberware, leaving her in a comatose state. She could hear everything, feel everything, but Evelyn couldn't move or respond. It was a literal living nightmare, a complete paralysis of the body while her mind was fully awake. The proverbial poop really hits the fan though when Evelyn is sent to Oswald Woodman Forrest, the caretaker of Clouds. Initially, Woodman tried to fix Evelyn's cyberware, but when he failed, he showed his true colours. Exploiting her vulnerable state, Woodman repeatedly raped Evelyn, taking advantage of her defenselessness, which is why you should never ever feel bad about killing this piece of shit with a silver tongue.
I did some more digging in her virtues. Found Woodman. He kept her. Had his way with her. The things he did. And once he got bored, he pawned her off.
What did Woodman do to her? Did you see it?
Yeah. And I really wish I could unsee it.
When Evelyn was no longer useful to him, Woodman sold her off to someone even worse. Fingers, a ripperdoc with a reputation for exploiting people in need of cybernetic repairs, but not before he gives them a good groping, which led to his nickname, Fingers. But even he couldn't help Evelyn. The Voodoo Boys virus had done too much damage and Evelyn's cyberware was ruined. Her body was slowly slipping beyond repair. But rather than let her go peacefully, Fingers sold her to the Scavengers, specifically a group called the Death's Head, infamous for their X-rated scenes and extremely raw and violent brain dances. This was possibly the worst fate anyone could face in Night City. Scavengers treated Evelyn like an object, using her for their black market snuff brain dances. They hooked her up to recording devices, forced her to relive endless horrors, and they captured every scream, every tear, every agonizing moment. She was repeatedly sexually assaulted, raped, and beaten and tortured. They didn't just want her to suffer, they wanted to immortalize it. Each brain dance they made was a twisted product of their depraved clientele, and Evelyn became nothing more than a vessel for their depravity. For almost an entire week, Evelyn was trapped in this nightmare, kept alive by machines that ensured her suffering never ended. Her humanity was stripped away, piece by piece, until nothing was left but a shell. Eventually, Judy and Phoebe managed to track Evelyn down to an abandoned power plant, and what they found was nothing short of horrifying and heartbreaking. Evelyn was still alive, but barely. Her body and mind were destroyed. Judy took Evelyn in, trying to care for her as best as she could, but it was clear that Evelyn's spirit had already been utterly broken. Despite Judy's best efforts, Evelyn couldn't escape the torment she had endured. She ended up taking her own life in Judy's bathtub, leaving behind a tragic and complicated legacy. Her ashes were later scattered at the Columbarium, where her epitaph reads, "She died valiantly, fighting the system." And that's the story of Evelyn Parker, and while we only met her for a short time in the game, she left such an impact on me, and rarely have I felt genuine sorrow for a character in a video game, but Evelyn's story is so well written, and the voice actor Carrie Waldron does such a good job of portraying her that I actually think Evelyn may be one of the most underrated stories in current video games. The story of a woman who wanted more from life, dared to reach for greater things, only for the very system she worked for to crush her utterly under heel. I'm sure it's a story a lot of us can relate to in one way or another. But thank you all so much for watching this rather somber episode, and if you do like this video and want more like it, do hit the like button to let me know you want more. And until next time, peace.